steps. Next, we're going to talk a bit about the allergens in the European cosmetic regulation. Okay, there is an obligation to label the allergens when they are present in the final product above a certain threshold. Okay, this obligation is stated in the European cosmetic regulation. Okay, and the number of allergens was 26 before, and now the list has been expanded up to 81 allergens. Okay. So when do the manufacturer of the final cosmetic products have the obligation to put the allergens on the label? For leave-on products, it's when the substance is above 0.001% in the final product, and for rinse-off products, it's when the allergen substance is above 0.01, okay? When the substance is above this threshold, the inky name of the allergen should be present in the label, okay, in the list of ingredients. So the way we share this information with you is with our allergen certificate. We have a certificate in which we list all 81 allergens, and we state the percentage of the substance that is present in the fragrance, okay? So then you can know if you need to label those allergens. And if you don't want to label a certain number of allergens, you can tell us, and in the process of designing the fragrance, we can design the fragrance so there is no allergens in the label, or there is allergens but only up to a certain number of allergens in the label, okay? So this is regarding the allergens. So IFRA standards, okay? I'm going to focus on this topic. This is the main topic of today. So IFRA is the International Fragrance Association, and it publishes a standard. It's basically a safety standard. IFRA tests a lot of substances, and they determine a maximum percentage in the final product that is acceptable in order to comply with their standards. Okay, so you can see this. This is public. Okay, if you look in Google and you put IFRA standards library, okay, you can see here in the ifrafragrance.org page, here you can see for every substance that IFRA has tested, there is an entry in this database, and you can go inside the item, and here you can see the results of the studies that IFRA has made of every substance. For example, from benzyl alcohol, you can see here the most important thing is this table. This is the maximum percentage of the substance that can be present in the final product in order to comply, okay? So in order to comply a product, this substance needs to be below this concentration in the final product, okay? And this is for every substance, okay? So when IFRA do this test, they publish the results of the new test in a new amendment, okay? We are currently in amendment 51, okay? And the 52nd amendment is expected to be published next year around mid-2026, okay? And IFRA describes 12 different categories that depend on the use of the final product. So the limit of each substance is different depending on which category. Okay, so these are the 12 categories, okay? Basically, it depends on the exposure of the product on the final consumer. Okay, so the way in which we give you this information is in our IFRA certificate. I have here some examples. This is an example of our IFRA certificate. Okay, so you can see here the name of the fragrance, and here the list of the 12 categories Okay, and the information we give here is the maximum level of fragrance that can be present in the final product for it to be compliant. So for each category, this is the maximum dose at which you can use the fragrance in your product and comply with IFRA standards. Okay? IFRA standards are not mandatory. There is not a regulation, a law in a country that makes it mandatory to comply with IFRA standard. But we are indirect members of IFRA and we make sure that everything that we manufacture complies with IFRA, okay? For a certain use and a certain dose, okay? So you can see here, this means, for example, this means for products in category 4 that are fine fragrance, you can use the fragrance up to the dose stated here. Okay, there is one thing that you have to take into account in this document, that is that there is a limit of 20%, okay? So even if the fragrance comply at a dosage greater than 20%, the certificate only states 20%. If you need to use the fragrance in a dose that is over 20%, you can tell us and we can prepare the certificate without the limit so you can see the true maximum dose, okay? Not limited to 20%. Okay? This is our basic IFRA 1 conformity certificate. We have another certificate that is called IFRA 51 certificate for cosmetic application. These certificates not only takes into account IFRA standards, it also takes into account compliance with the European cosmetic regulation. So here you have the same categories as before, the IFRA categories, and the maximum level of compliance you see here is not only for IFRA standard, but also for cosmetic regulation. So if the dose of the fragrance is below these percentages in the final product, it means that you are going to comply with both IFRA standards and the European cosmetic regulation. Okay? So you can see here, so when we develop a new fragrance, we need to know the use and dosage of the fragrance in the final product so we can design the fragrance accordingly. Okay, so it complies with both IFRA and the European cosmetic regulation. And knowing that information, we can design the fragrance to comply with both. Okay, the European cosmetic regulation, this is mandatory. Okay, if IFRA is not mandatory in any country, we do it because it's our internal standard and because it is a safety evaluation that ensures that the final product is safe. But we also have to comply with the European cosmetic regulation. Okay, in the regulation there are some prohibited substances that are listed in Annex 2 and some substances which are limited, which are restricted, that are in the Annex 3. And there is also another annexes that states which of the colorants, preservatives, and UV filters can be used in the product, okay? So we take all of this into account and we make sure that our fragrances always comply, okay? For this, we need to know the use on those because it's dependent on those things. Okay. A lot of times, people want their fragrance to be hypoallergenic, okay? So there is not a single definition of hypoallergenic in any regulation. Different clients mean different things when they say they want their fragrance to be hypoallergenic. Sometimes it means that they don't want any allergen to appear in the label, even if there are some allergens in small quantity. Sometimes it means that they want no allergen to be present in the fragrance, independent of at what dose. There are other definitions of hypoallergenic that are even more restrictive. There is a definition in a guide for the regulatory claims by the European Commission that has a very strict definition of hypoallergenic that not only takes into account allergens, it only takes into account as every substance that is classified as skin sensitizer. And this is a definition that we can apply if someone asks us what do we consider hypoallergenic, this is the definition we give. But sometimes they don't want to be this restrictive. They only want the fragrance to be allergen-free, for example. Okay. And there are, in the European regulation, a few special cases. For example, for baby products, there is a prohibition of some substances that are not prohibited in products that are not for babies. So if a product is intended for babies or for children under the age of 6, we need to know. So we take it into account when designing the fragrance. Okay. That is regarding the European regulation. But there are other recommendations by the European Commission that are not obligatory to comply with, but they recommend to take into account for baby products. That it is free for some substance of very high concern, free for carcinogenic, mutagenics, and reprotoxic substances, free from endocrine disruptors, free from potent allergens, and free from terpenoids. Okay, so this is not of obligatory compliance, but if your product is intended for babies, these are recommendations by the European Commission that we can take into account when designing the fragrance if you want to take them into account. Okay? So this is our contact email. So if you have any question regarding anything, you can always send an email to this direction. Okay? And we will assist you and we will, regarding any regulatory topic you need. Okay? So, okay. Do you have any questions regarding any of this? Any question, anything you want to... Yes, please, ask. Go ahead.
Hello.
Hello.
My name is Olga, and first of all, thank you for all the information. It was very useful. And yes, I understand everything about the certificate IFRA, and you confirmed everything that now I understand. I was right, that I read it correctly, and I understand this information in this certificate correctly. But the only question that I have now, we use some of your fragrances for making candles. So we pay attention at the category 12 in the certificate. And for some certificates, for some aromas, I found out that there was a very small limit in category 12. And it was less than 1% or 2 or 3%, and it's a very small amount. We use more we use more of aroma oil for candles. It's like 6 or 8%. So when I asked this question, I got a new certificate, a new IFRA certificate, which was not 50 but 51 IFRA certificate. Yes. And quantity there was already not 1 or 2%, but 100%. And I didn't understand how does it work. What is the difference between this 50 and 51% IFRA certificate, and especially when I paid, when I saw that in all other categories from 1st to 11, sorry, numbers didn't change. The limits didn't change in other categories. It changed only in 12th category. So could you explain this question, please?
Yes. Yes, thank you, Olga, for the question. The amendment 50 was the previous amendment of IFRA. And when they published the 51st amendment, which was almost 2 years ago, okay, or 1 year and something ago, they changed the limits on the substances that are permitted in each category. So, for example, some substances change it, but the limit, but only in a certain category. So it's possible that a certain substance changed its limit or was no longer limited by IFRA in category 12. So in the certificate for the new amendment, the maximum dose of compliance for the fragrance for category 12 went up to 100% because as I saw you in the here in the IFRA standard guides, for each substance it has a different limit for each category. Okay, so for some substances for category 12 there is no restriction. So it's possible that for a certain substance in the amendment 50 had restrictions in category 12, but if IFRA did more tests and concluded that there should be no restriction, so in amendment 51 they changed it to no restriction or a very low percentage, and the fragrance went up to comply up to 100%. And every amendment is different, and when they publish the next one, some things will change. So when a new amendment is published, we do everything in our system to prepare the new certificate, and we can send you the new certificate according to the new amendment. Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. So, for example, if we are using these aromas now we started to make also aroma diffusers, and this is category 10A. And,
yes, reed diffusers.
Yes, if do I understand correctly that if I ask some certain aromas, you can check also for this category 10A and it can be another quantity, because in most of certificates for aromas which we use now, it is a very low quantity for this category 10A. Is it possible to, so to say, to recheck this category for these aromas, or
yes,
not?
Yes, I mean, category 10A is a bit more restrictive than category 12. So if you want the fragrances to comply in category 10A up to a certain percentage, you can ask, and we can modify the formulas or create new formulas that comply for that category at the dose you want. You can send an email to Elena or us, and we will handle it. You only need to say what use do you want. You can say we need for reed diffusers up to 20% or whatever you need, and we will design the fragrance so it complies. Yes.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah. Any more questions? Yes, please go ahead.
Еще раз добрый день, только если можно, я на русском. Елена, надеюсь, что вы мне поможете в этом. Подскажите, пожалуйста, мне я как менеджер, могу ли я, основываясь на данных ИФРы, то есть процентное соотношение, когда я просматриваю к одной либо другой категории, самостоятельно предлагать клиенту ту либо другую отдушку для конкретного продукта? То есть не спрашивая у вас, а основываясь на данных ИФРа. То есть если я, например, вижу в категории 12 100%, то я могу предложить ее для свечей, а если я, например, вижу в категории 10А, то, например, 20% я могу ее предложить, например, на диффузоры. Можно ли это принимать как бы за истину, либо все-таки приходится у вас переспрашивать, какой категории конкретно предназначена эта отдушка? Понятен мой вопрос, возможно, немного сумбурно.
Yes, everything is clear. Thank you, Olona. I will translate your question to Álvaro, and he will check your question. Álvaro, Alona is telling that she's like a salesperson. She would like to know if the fragrance, if the document, if IFRA is suitable to check if one fragrance from Iberchem is suitable for determinate use. For example, she will take by herself the document IFRA from parents we have here in Iberchem, and she would like to know if she can use this document to know if the fragrance is suitable for any determinate use. For example, she see in the document the use of fragrance for shower gel, and IFRA certificate states that this fragrance is suitable for this use at, I don't know, at 5% according to IFRA. So can she use this fragrance by herself to sell to her customers according to information stated in IFRA? Do you understand more or less the question?
Yes, I do understand. Thank you. Yes. It is different if we are talking non-cosmetic uses, like for example home uses like candles or diffusers, or if we are talking cosmetic applications, okay? So for non-cosmetic uses, you can take the IFA certificate, and if the final product, if in the final product the fragrance is at this dose or below this dose, you can assume that it complies, and you can offer it to your client as IFRA compliant, okay? If it is a cosmetic product, you also have to check the certificate, the second certificate I told you, that is called IFA certificate for cosmetic applications, because this also takes into account the European cosmetic regulation, okay? So if the use is cosmetic, you need to check also in this document that the fragrance in the product is below this dose. If it is below this dose, you can assume that the product will be compliant both with IFRA standard and with the European cosmetic regulation. Yes.
Okay, so we have two categories, cosmetic products and non-cosmetic products.
Yes.
Okay? Значит, Алена, Альваро говорит, что надо различать применение одушки, либо одушка используется для косметического применения, либо одушка используется для других применений. Okay, Alvaro, so for non-cosmetics application, which rule, could you please repeat the rule we should follow?
Yes, with non-cosmetic cosmetic applications, you only need to check the document that is called IFRA conformity certificate. Okay?
And I will translate it. Yes. Значит, Алена, в том случае, если вы смотрите одушки для применения не косметического, например, стиральные порошки или другие виды применения, вам потребуется посмотреть документ IFRA 51, вот этот, который написано 51 IFRA Conformity Certificate. Okay, continue, Alvaro, please.
So, if the fragrance is in the final product in a percentage below the one stated here for each category, then you can assume that it complies with IFRA standards.
Okay. В том случае, если дозировка отдушки меньше, чем указано в этом документе, вот в этом документе указано 15%, вы можете использовать эту отдушку для применения, которое просит ваш клиент. Понятно или напомню?
Да, понятно. Так, спасибо большое. Тогда мне интересно, что имеется в правке 50. Это тогда относится к косметике, правка 50. Ну, не 51-я ИФРА, мы сейчас видим с вами документ 51-й правки, а иногда мне попадаются еще 50-е. То есть я так понимаю, что 50-я, если 51-я относится, например, к стирке, то к косметике, наверное, относится 50-я. Правильно ли я поняла?
Okay, Alvaro, and for cosmetic products, which IFRA certificate we should follow?
Yes.
Так, значит, для некосметических продукций мы должны пользоваться предыдущим документом 51, и косметические продукции должны пользоваться cosmetics products. This one.
Yes, it's the same for cosmetic products,
Mhm.
but this maximum doses of compliance also take into account the cosmetic regulation in the
Okay.
same way. Okay.
То есть в этом случае вместо цифра 51, который мы видели раньше, должно быть написано сертификат для косметических применений эксклюзивно. Вот смотрите, на экране написано 51 IFRA Certificate for Cosmetic Application. Окей? То есть в этом случае косметических продуктов, типа как гель для душа, крем для тела и так далее, вы должны быть вот этот документ.
Понятно, понятно. Спасибо большое.
Okay, everything is clear. Alright.
Okay, thank you.
Does anyone have more questions for this presentation? У кого-то еще есть какие-либо вопросы по этой теме? Окей. В том случае, если у вас будут какие-то вопросы, вы можете написать нам на электронную почту в письменном виде, и мы вам ответим на ваши консультации в письменном виде. Наши коллеги, которые работают в отделе Regulation, они ответят вам на ваши консультации в письменном виде. Хорошо?
Yes. Mhm.
Мгм. 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 Thank you very much, Alvaro, for your good presentation. We
you.
really appreciate your time and your effort. Everything was clear. In case the customers will have in near future some questions, they will write an email, okay?
Perfect.
So we will manage it by email, okay? So thank you so much for your time and for your efforts. Have a good day and bye-bye. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you everyone for coming. Have a nice day, everyone.
Bye-bye. Thank you. До свидания. Спасибо большое всем.
Всего доброго.
Всего доброго. До свидания.